Hola clase, bienvenidos a la clase de arte otra vez. Hi class, welcome back to art class again. I'm wearing my new Be Kind shirt that I found online that I thought was really cool, so I wanted to share that with you real quick before we get started. I thought it was really neat because it also is in sign language too. So I just wanted to share that with you real quick. We're going to be talking about perspective for art, and this is probably going to last about 3 weeks. So I'll tell you about all the supplies that you'll need for the whole 3 weeks, and then I'll focus in on what you just need for this week. So remember, in class, if we were in person, we wouldn't normally just do things in the 1 hour that we have. It would usually take, 2 or 3 classes at least. So what we're going to do is take all of the design elements that you've been practicing so far in art and put them together in one project, and then add perspective into it. You might have heard of perspective before, and I'll go over it again so that you can kind of remember or refresh your memory of what that's about. So perspective drawing is basically, you're going to end up with something that's going to look like this, except for, since it's fall, I was thinking that our leaves should be what colors? Warm colors or cool colors? Warm colors. And that's going to be orange, brown, red, yellow. All of those warm colors is what our leaves are going to end up being. And that's one of our design elements, is color. So another design element was also shape. And the shapes of the trees are going to be bigger near us. And then in the middle, as they get back further and further, here, near, and far. So like this tree is right here, so it's really big. And then near us, they get a little smaller. And then far, they get really, really tiny. So like I said, you may have done something similar to this in the past, but we're going to try to refresh your memory on it. So we'll end up with a project that kind of looks like this at the end. So what supplies are you going to need for this? So for the first week, they're the ones that are on top. You're going to need your pencil and your sketchbook, of course, and then your eraser, because we're still going to be doing our sketchbook warm-ups, except for this week it's going to be a little bit different than the silly prompts that I've had so far. Don't worry, we'll get back to those. And then you're also going to need some sort of a ruler or a straight edge. If you don't have a ruler, that's no problem. You can have a ruler, you can use the edge of a book if you want, that's a nice straight edge right there. So it's better to think of it as a straight edge. You could even use another edge of a notebook. That's good enough right there. Nice straight edge. You might have some boxes laying around. You could use the edge of a box. Or if it's broken down, that might be even a little bit easier, but even a box will work as a straight edge. So don't worry if you don't have a ruler. I'm sure you can find something that has a straight edge around your house. That's what you're going to need for this week. In the next 2 weeks, what you're going to need are watercolors and a brush. So you don't have to go and get the super duper expensive ones. Just the Crayola watercolors with the one little brush that's in it is going to be completely fine, because we're using that for our background, and that's about it. You could paint other elements if you wanted to. If you don't have watercolor at home or you're not able to get any, don't worry. You can still use, colored pencils are probably going to be your next best thing. Or crayons. Marker, if you have it, is probably maybe the last one that you want, because those are so dark when you draw on them. And with colored pencil, you can make it a darker where you need it and lighter where you need it. So if you don't have watercolors, colored pencils are the next best thing, and crayons. And then if you have markers, that's fine too. So for the paper that you're going to need for your project, you're going to want thicker paper. If you have watercolor paper, that's awesome, because that is a little bit thicker than a sketchbook. Than this one. This one's about a sketchbook size, and then this one is thicker. You can tell it's a little bit harder for me to bend it. So that would be ideal. If you can't get that, that is also fine. Don't worry about it. So if you can't get thicker paper, don't use the watercolor, even if you have watercolor at home. If all you have is notebook paper with the lines, then just you stick with colored pencil and marker. And then for the very last week, what you'll need is a black marker like a Sharpie. Make sure that you always have something down underneath your artwork before you begin, because remember, this is for our details. So those are all the supplies that you'll need for the whole 3 weeks. This first week, remember, just sketchbook, pencil eraser, and a straight edge. That's all you need for week 1. So I found a pretty cool video that teaches you how to draw cubes, because that's the best way to learn how to draw in perspective. And we're going to be drawing in 1-point perspective. So these cubes are in 1-point perspective. So she does a really awesome job explaining it. So I will get.
Hi, welcome to Mr. Otter Studio. Today I'm going to be showing you how to draw 1-point perspective, and we're going to draw 3 boxes using 1-point perspective. You need something to draw with. I think it's best to use a pencil. We will be erasing a lot of our lines today, and a ruler. I like these clear rulers because it's easier for me to see my dots. But even if you just have something straight, you know, that you can use to connect lines. And if you want to just eyeball it, that works too. First thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a horizon line across the middle of our paper. The horizon line is where the sky meets the land. For example, if this was our horizon line, this would be a road. Here's the road getting smaller as it goes to. Here's some mountains and the sun, right? It's all coming to this 1 point, which is why this is 1-point perspective. So we're going to draw 3 boxes, one above our horizon line, on our horizon line, and below our horizon line. Before we draw the box, let's put in our vanishing point. I'm going to put an X. That is our vanishing point. So that's like this point here in this little drawing. This is where everything appears to come together. Now let's draw our boxes over here to start with. To draw a box, you just draw 2 vertical lines that go up and down, and 2 horizontal lines that go from side to side. You're gonna draw one above, on, and below. Maybe I'll make this one a little bit smaller, and the one below. So now we have these 3 squares, and they're just floating here, and we want to connect them to our vanishing point. I'm going to erase the horizon line in front of this one so it's a little bit easier to see. Grab your ruler, and we're going to connect these 3 points of our top box to our vanishing point, making the side of this box first. And I would recommend drawing really lightly for this, so we can see the side and the bottom. This isn't a box quite yet, it's more of a big long rectangle. So we're going to connect these 2 sides so we can only see the side of this box. I'm going to erase the horizon lines. And then let's go ahead and draw the top of this box first by connecting this point and this point to our vanishing point. And then let's connect this bottom point. I guess I could call it a corner. Now if these were clear, then we could connect this line too. I'll do it on this top one. If this was like a glass cube, then we would see that corner as well. To keep it simple, we're just going to be drawing some solid boxes. What we want to do is figure out how big to make this box. You can make it as wide as you want. Just try to keep your lines vertical. When we end this box, this line needs to be parallel or running next to this line, so it needs to be vertical as well. We're going to have to redraw that line, and we need that one to be horizontal. So let's go ahead and figure out, let's make this one about that wide, and then I'm just trying to keep this line that I'm drawing parallel to that line right there. And this box, and let's end the top of this and the side of it. As you can see, we have these lines drawn, but it's still kind of hard to see our boxes, so I'm going to erase these lines. This is our horizon line. So we have our 3 boxes. So the box that's above us, we can see the bottom of it. The box that's in front of us, we can see the side of it and the front. And the box that's below us, we can see the top of it and the side and the front. Really quickly, this is a little bit more advanced if you want to try this out. I'm going to carve a hole through my box because I want to be able to see all the way through it. Now it just looks like maybe a square that I've drawn on the front of it, but now I want it to look 3D. You're going to bring this corner back to the vanishing point. This point would go through it, and this point would go through it. We need to add this line here because we need to add a line that's parallel to that line, and then another horizontal line in here. Now we can kind of see through this box. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial.
Okay, So that's what I want you to do for your sketchbook. Now, normally that's 5 to 10 minutes. This time I want you to take at least about 10 minutes. If you get to 15, that's okay because this is part of your first week. This is what I want you to take a picture of on your Chromebook and upload it into Google Classroom is your practice with the cubes. The next thing that I want you to take a picture of is your pencil drawing of your river with your trees, your fall trees, and then maybe if you started to add some details into it. But that kind of gets into week 2. So how you are going to set up your drawing for your fall river leaf so that you end up with something that looks a little bit like this. And I can take it down and I'll show you in a moment. What you're going to need to do is I want you to have, if you have watercolor paper, this is what you're going to do on the watercolor paper. If you have thicker sketchbook paper, this is what I want you to do on that. If you only have notebook paper, then that's what you're going to use. But remember, don't use watercolor on the notebook paper because it's just going to soak it and make the paper kind of get messed up. So what you need to do is figure out where your horizon line is. So usually your horizon line, you go about halfway and then come up a little bit. And so get your straight edge, whatever that is. And remember, you're using pencil. I'm using Sharpie just so that you can see me. Otherwise, you are starting in pencil first. Sharpie is not until the very end. So you just draw your horizon line right across. And then your vanishing point, you're going to put it right in the middle. So just do your best guess as to where the middle of the line is. And then draw yourself in pencil a dot. Then what you're going to do is just draw an X kind of radiating out. Do this really lightly. And this is going to give you your boundaries for your trees and for your river. So you're going to make an X right on that, right through that dot. If you want to, you could do the X first and then draw your horizon line through it. So your horizon line kind of becomes, it's kind of what we did here. We drew our X first and then we drew our horizon line. That's up to you. And so now, if you can kind of see, this is going to be our river, and this is your boundary for your trees. So that's why it's important that you do it in pencils, because you're going to erase these lines eventually. So then remember the near, or the here, near, and far. Things that are here are a lot bigger. Things that are midway, a little bit smaller, and things that are far, far away are really, really tiny. So for our trees, we're going to draw them pretty big right up front. And then however fluffy you want to make them, it's up to you. So if I had a pencil, I would erase this line and I would erase this line. So that's our here tree. It's right here. We can see lots of details in it. Maybe we're going to draw some bark. Okay. And then our near tree is going to be a little bit skinnier, not go up quite as much. Still going to be fluffy, getting ready to maybe lose its leaves. So again, then you would erase this. And then your far. Just gets a little bit smaller. So I want you to fill in all of these with trees. And remember, the things that are here, you can see more details. The things that are far, a little bit less detail. But there's still going to be some detail, just not as much. Maybe there's a hole in this tree. Okay? And then for your river, you can add some waves if you want. Just remember that your waves get smaller as you put them back. So the closer you get to your vanishing point, the smaller things get. And then you're going to put yourself a nice sunset in between your trees. And then maybe if it comes all the way down, again, you'll have pencils so you can erase. Maybe this tree is going to cover this part up. So then I would erase that line right there. And so then you got your sun setting on your river. You got trees on both sides. Maybe you want a cloud in your sky or two. Whatever details that you want to add, that can be more for week 2. Week 1, I want you to concentrate on your horizon line your 1-point perspective so that you know where your trees are going and how big they're going to be. And it kind of gives you a guide of how big they're going to be. And then keep in mind with your river that things that are right up here are bigger and things that are back here are a lot smaller. So that's the first week. And that's what I would like for you to take a picture of for me. Remember, just in pencil. And then next week, we'll get into the more of the details. So you'll add more details. So what you need to attach in week 1 is a picture of your sketchbook cube practice and a picture of your perspective drawing so far. Remember, if you need to know how to take a picture in your Chromebook, if you go down to the materials under the subject of art towards the beginning, it has this item that says material. It says how to attach a picture to an assignment in Google Classroom. And then it has that really good YouTube video that shows you from start to finish how to do that. So you'll take the picture with the Chromebook and then you'll attach to the assignment. You can attach more than one thing. So I can see your sketchbook entry of your cubes, and then so I can see your perspective drawing in pencils so far. And that's week 1. I'll see you back here for week 2.